Welcome back to the Oscar Project Podcast, the show where I discuss Oscar-nominated films year by year. I'm your host, Jonathan Ichirur, and today I'm bringing you an interview with Dur Jamjoom, director of the short film Kum-Kum, which showed at the Tribeca Film Festival back in June. I recorded the episode before the festival, but unfortunately was just now able to recover the audio files from that interview. Before I jump into the interview, please subscribe to the show in your podcast player so you can get all the newest episodes as soon as they are released. If you like the interview and want to hear more, please consider leaving a rating and review in Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Dur Jamjoom was born and raised in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, and discovered her passion for filmmaking at the age of 11, finding solace in capturing moments with her family. She has a bachelor's degree in cinematic arts from Meerut University, and she seeks to use her storytelling in cohesive style to leave a lasting impact on viewers' hearts and minds. Today she joins me to talk about her latest short film, Kum-Kum, which is currently showing at the Tribeca Film Festival. Dur, welcome to the show.
Hello.
So I want to start off by talking about the inspiration for this film. I've read that it is based on an experience that you had personally, and I wonder if you wouldn't mind telling us a bit about that experience and also why you felt that sharing it through film was the best way to tell the world about it.
So I first wrote this story. There was a course back in the university. We were taking like intermediate script writing. And I was getting like, there was the assignment that they said was to get an idea and write a script. So I was trying to get ideas and none of them were good. And I kept on like scratching all these ideas until this memory that has like a flashback that I remembered when I was 12 years old, that this happened, this traumatic event that has happened and changed my perspective of life, which was my friend who passed away at the age of 12. And I remember it so vividly because it was so new and I have never experienced such grief at such a young age. And for me, at 12 years old, I never knew that children at 12 years old can also die. So it was so surreal and so sudden that I couldn't understand, and my emotions were going all over the place and I was in a state of denial. So it was such an interesting topic to tackle in, and I wanted to remember that time because my friend who passed away was such a great influence, even though she was 12 years old. But you know, at the age of 12, when you're about to be a teenager, it's your emotions and your personality starts to change and your behavior starts to change. And, you know, these teenage girls starts to be like rude and they start to be like emo. And I felt such an outsider. But when I saw her, I felt so close and related to her that I was so inspired by her because she was such a perfect girl that I wanted to be like her. So she was so innocent. She was religious and quiet and hardworking and such a good daughter. And she was such a huge inspiration. So when that time came, I remember my sister came and told me that I have to tell you something. And she took me to the room and told me that your friend passed away. And I was so shocked because I didn't believe her. I was like, no, you're joking. That can't happen. How? Well, she got invited to a beach house party and an 8-year-old boy was driving a jet ski and she wanted to ride on the jet ski with him. And there was so much waves happening and she fell off the jet ski and the little boy didn't hear her. And he looked back and he didn't see her. So they started to look for her for 2 hours. And at the end, they found a floating body at the sea. And unfortunately, she passed away. I didn't see that. But from all these stories that was happening, I didn't have a clear vision of what was happening. But because of how all these stories that were coming from my friends and from my family, that I've combined all these stories into one and how I imagined it. So that's why I didn't know how to say it, but I wanted to show how I felt. So I kept on writing and writing and writing it. And no matter how much I explain it, it's not enough. So I made this film to see what I've been seeing and what I've been envisioning this images that have been like passing by.
That's incredible, and I'm so sorry that you had to deal with that, especially at such a young age. But thank you for sharing it with us in this film, of course. Now you have a wonderful group of young girls in the film playing the four friends that are at the beach. What was it like trying to find the actors to portray those girls, especially since I assume they were based on real people, that some of which you may have known?
So it took me 2 years to find characters to approve of wearing t-shirts and shorts, especially in Saudi Arabia, which is very difficult to find females to be okay being filmed that way. And I made sure that it's a story, it's a simple story, but it's very in-depth, and it's based on a true story. And I tried to sell it to them so they can be convinced, and I tried to make them relate to the story, and I tried to find characters that have faced the same situation. These characters were based on, well, the main characters based on me, Duna, and the rest of the characters were, the two secondary characters were based on the like extras to just supporting the situation, and the actress who drowned was my friend who passed away. So this is all based on real characters. And while I was doing the casting process, I've always been looking at the emotions of how they speak, of how they act, especially in the eyes, because the eyes really do speak for itself. That when I try to find the main character, I've always wanted to look for if they could relate to the characters that I've been writing down. And so the main character, when I casted her, I asked her, do you know anyone who you know that passed away? And she told me, well, 3 months ago, my father passed away. And I was shocked. It's like, oh, I'm so sorry about that. And she's like, yeah, it's been so hard, but I've passed that grief moment. So when she said that, I said, okay, she can relate to my main character. So I said, that's like a good way to pick your characters sometimes.
Sure. Yeah, they can relate to that, the emotions, because they've experienced themselves.
Yeah.
Now, beyond the fact that you were obviously dealing with this, telling the story of a traumatic personal experience, what sort of technical challenges did you face making the film?
A lot of technical challenges, especially when you're dealing with water. And this is like my 6th short film, and I've never dealt with so many casts, so many crew members, and especially when you're dealing with nature, it's very difficult to juggle all these at once, and at the same time you're trying to direct this heartfelt story. And when you get distracted, sometimes it's a bit difficult to remember the core of your story. So I remember the first 3 days of shooting, it was a bit hectic because the waves were going too crazy and the weather was gloomy, and the cast was being a bit too sick, and it was all over the place. But as soon as I got the that like hard pat on the back, like, you got this, from my amazing producer, Zemeckis, she told me, this film won't end without you, because this film won't move on if you are not gonna move on with this. Because I started to like panic, and I started to think like, this film is not gonna be great, and I started to put all these negative thoughts that was not the right moment to do that. And I just started to, take a step back, take a deep breath, and remember the core of this film and why am I making it. And everyone told me that you got this, and the support from the crew was amazing. And from there, I just started to do it and started to do the tasks right, or direct right, or do the film right. Because as an independent film and as a film student, because this is a graduation film,
With her.
And it's all new to me, and I'm still a beginner. And I think with every new project that you're making, you have to repeat from the beginning to start this whole process again, as if it's your first film. But thankfully, I did it. Yeah.
Yes, you certainly did. And it's good to have folks that are encouraging you and believing in you along the way. Now, I wanted to discuss one shot in the film that really blew me away. The young girl who is wary of going in the water goes inside to pray away from her friends, and we see her silhouetted against a large window as she prays, and you can see the other three girls in the background outside getting ready to get in the water with their kayaks, but we can see them, but they're out of focus.
Yeah.
What were some of the decisions that made you pick that shot in that particular way to show those two very different actions on the screen in that way?
Well, I wanted to show that two actions that are happening at once that are also completely different. And you could see the next action that is going to happen without shooting different areas. Because you have all this whole scene and this whole shot that explains what's going to happen next. So before that shot, I remember my grandmother, she was sitting there and I saw this silhouette of her, and I saw someone was walking behind there, the same place where the girls were carrying the kayak. And I said, like, wow, that's like very nice image to see. So I took a picture of my grandmother and the same action that was happening behind her, and I was inspired by that. I was like, I want to put that in my film because it was so interesting to see the peace or the calm before the storm. It was an interesting frame to do that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I like that it was a little bit serendipitous that you saw your grandma there, and just the way the lighting was, I'm sure, and all that was inspiring to you. Now at the end of the film, Duna, the character inspired by you, and I think it's her niece, are back on the beach, and it looks like some time has passed. Duna looks older. Was this part of your own healing process, going back to the place where this tragedy occurred and dealing with it like that?
Well, correct you. This is her younger sister.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's okay. When I wrote that scene, it was more as a metaphorical point of view of how she was looking at the sea, and it's like an endless horizon, that same as your future, that it's endless, but at the same time, you don't know where it's going to end, and it's a mystery to all of us. And the reason why I wrote this last scene is to make it look like it's a life cycle. When the first shot of the four girls were splashing each other, and then at the end of the scene, the little girl and her sister were also splashing each other. It's like this whole thing that happened to her life, still, it's coming back again. The same situation where she's splashing with her younger sister. It's just showing that even though that this situation happened, it doesn't mean that it's going to stop you from your future. Sometimes in life you lose, but at the same time you gain from it. So what she has gained is a perspective that she hadn't had when she was younger. So when she saw her younger sister, she said to herself that, okay, I want to teach you this. I want to teach you how to swim because I don't want to face that situation again. And saying that right now, I remember back then, before my friend who went to the beach, I remember I took her to a swimming pool, and it was shallow, you could stand on it. And I was trying to teach my friend how to swim. And I remember as I was teaching her how to swim, her body felt like it was a ton of bricks. I've never experienced like that. So it's like her body felt like it was going down so fast that I didn't know how to make her float and be calm. I could see the fear in her eyes. So I said to myself, if I just taught her how to swim that day, she wouldn't have drowned because she doesn't know how to swim. So when I saw that scene, I was like, I want to teach that little girl because I don't want that experience to happen again.
So that's really powerful. Now, I do have a couple of questions, not specifically related to the film, but before I move on to those, is there anything else you want to touch on about Kum-Kum?
I just hope that whoever sees this film feels related to it, feels touched by it, and can be inspired by it. As a Saudi female filmmaker, this is a great opportunity to be a part of Tribeca Film Festival. And I think, I'm not sure, but I heard someone said that I'm the first Saudi female to be part of the short film category.
Oh, fantastic.
This is a great and experience and a huge blessing. And I hope for my next generation here to be inspired and be a part of this too.
Wonderful. Well, I'm sure if this film is any indication of what you're capable of, I'm sure you'll continue to inspire long time going forward. Now, this might be the hardest question I've asked, and I think I've asked some hard ones so far today. But if you had to pick your top 3 films of all time, what would they be?
Well, the first one, which inspired me to become a cinematographer / director, by Wes Anderson, The Grand Budapest Hotel.
Fantastic film.
It is an incredible film. And the second one, it's a short film, a Tunisian film by Meryam Joobeur. It's called Brotherhood.
Okay.
It's a very interesting film. The way how she directed this film and made it look like it's a documentary. So that's what I always look forward to whenever I'm shooting any film, to see that authenticity and humanity. And recently, I went to Cannes Film Festival and I watched a long feature film, and it's by Magnus von Horn. It's called The Girl with the Needle, and it's an incredible film.
Fantastic. We'll put those in their show notes so you can check them out. Now, if you could invite any 3 movie characters to your next dinner party, who would they be and why?
How many people, you said?
3 movie characters.
3 movie characters. Oh, okay.
Yep, not the actors, the characters themselves.
Okay. Can it be a cartoon character too?
Absolutely. I've had somebody recommended the genie from Aladdin not too long ago, and what was the other? Oh, Buzz Lightyear. Someone recommended a while back as well.
Woody.
So. Okay, all right, go for it.
I was gonna say Woody, maybe Forrest Gump.
Okay.
And I forgot his name, but the guy from Scarface. And when he said, "I'm in the dark here."
Tony.
Yeah.
Tony Montana.
Yep.
Okay. That'd be an interesting, I'm not sure how he fits in with the other 2, but it would certainly make for an interesting dinner party.
Balance.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm often interviewing authors on the podcast as well. Do you have any books that you could recommend that you've read recently? They could be fiction or nonfiction and don't necessarily have to be related to movies.
A book that I saw, it's called Say Nothing, and I still have the half part of it right now. I didn't